afternoon, Apryl, and welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. It's great to have you on. Great to talk to you. Great to catch up again. And
Yeah.
I'm super excited about this conversation because we do know each other, but not that well. And we've never met in person. So I think we'll probably learn quite a bit about each other over
Yes.
the next hour and a half. And I'm also going to be doing your show, which is awesome, which I'm sure we'll talk about today in March. So
Yes.
you'll get to learn about me so you can ask me some additional stuff.
I
So
know.
yeah.
We'll take our conversation to level 2. Let's talk a little bit deeper in my show.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome, Apryl. So let's kick it off. So I'd love if you would introduce yourself to the audience, who you are, where you are located in the world, and just a general overview of who you are. And then we'll learn a lot more about you over the whole time.
Absolutely. It's so funny because I feel like I went through an identity crisis last year about how to talk about what I do because I'm so passionate about so many things. But ultimately, one of my superpowers is helping people make changes in their life that helps them focus on what truly matters in life. Because, life is short and
Mhm.
we shouldn't be going through the motions and we need to have fun. And as a part of that, my big thing is that I am a community builder at heart. I have launched in the last couple of years an amazing accountability and networking group called the Accountability Success Circle, which has members from all over the globe focusing on a positive space in the social media world where
Mhm.
they can get support and they can focus on their personal professional goals and have more fun while getting stuff done. And I'm based in a suburb of Chicago. I've lived here for most of my life, but I'm originally from the Philippines, so I'm officially an immigrant.
Mm.
And I just, I love doing all the things. There's not really anything that I don't enjoy doing, and I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm very, very cheerful. Oh, my business is called the Cheerful Mind, but
Yeah,
the
I was
the
gonna
kind of
say yes.
you're like, where do you work? Yeah, the Cheerful Mind is my brand, is my business, and in that hub is this community, and I've got some other fun projects coming up down the road too. So,
Awesome. Yes,
yay!
I was like, when is she gonna say the name of her company? Since that kind of encompasses everything about her. Amazing.
Yes.
Hilarious. Amazing. So how Apryl and I know each other is we actually were in, I guess you'd call it a cohort or a class for a really cool online program to become certified in body language. So body language
Mhm.
doesn't just mean using your hands when you speak, but it's things like the tone of your voice. It's really anything besides the actual words you say. So
Yep.
and like I learned a lot about, like, they call it ornaments, like the way your hair is done, and for women the jewelry you're wearing, or meant to, the clothes you're wearing,
Mhm.
all these different things where people make snap judgments about us that doesn't have to do with just moving your hands. So Apryl and I met that way through that online community and got connected. I think at the time I was considering, like, I think I'd hired a coach at that point, or maybe even not, but I wanted to connect with you because, one, you seemed cheerful, pun
Yay!
intended, and super cool. And, we had a lot in common. We're both parents around the same age. Like, I'm from Minnesota originally. You're another
Yeah.
Midwestern girl and an NFL Big Tenor. I know you went to
Yes.
Northwestern. I went to Minnesota.
Mhm.
So, hmm and so we connected that way and did that program together, which was super fun.
How
And we
long did
just
it take you
maintained
to finish that program?
less time than you. I know it took you forever.
It took me like 2 years, but I was doing too much. But it's good because I was so excited about learning everything, and it
Hmm.
was really a source of fun for me. And I wasn't signing up for it to enhance my business in any way. It was just really curious about the topic, and yeah, it just took me a long time. But sometimes I have to put the fun away when I have to do work. But
Yeah,
I
so
finished is all that
you
matters.
did finish. I think it took me longer than expected because I'm the person who's like, I'm gonna do it in the least amount of time possible because I'm very
Mm,
competitive, and it's
yeah.
not like I want to beat anybody, but it's just like, oh, what's the minimum time I can do this in? Yeah, it didn't quite happen because it
Yeah, well,
wasn't.
and
Yeah,
I'm the exact opposite because I was like, I want to dive into it, like everything, and I really want to absorb this stuff, and so I'm kind of the overachiever where I was like, I need to read all of Vanessa's blog posts, and I need to
yeah.
read, so that made things a little longer for me, but
Yeah, no, totally. So just to give a plug for the program, it is really cool. It's the company is the Science of People or Science of People, and the CEO of that company is Vanessa Van Edwards. She's amazing. She's a best-selling author of a book called Captivate, and runs something called People School, which is super cool. I did that as well. Really helped me with connecting with people and my people skills. She has a body the body language course you're talking about. She has a lie detection course. Very cool. Check her out at Science of People.
Yeah.
And now, Apryl, we get to talk about our first impressions of each other. And you and I have never talked about this before.
Oh,
And because it's my show, you have to go first. So
okay.
what do you remember as your first impression of me? And let's
Oh
make it
my gosh.
when we connected, not like when you saw me posting in a forum or something.
Yeah.
You're like, I remember your writing. I remember your prose was a little dry.
Me?
No, I'm saying like
Oh.
the impression. You're like, oh, I
Oh,
saw you
that's
post in the
you're giving
forum.
it
Yeah,
yeah. I can't even remember because it's so long ago. Some of those details with words, I definitely am a visual person, so I remember that. But I mean, so it's so hard to remember. Usually, if somebody rubs me the wrong way, I remember better. So this is
yeah, me
probably
too.
good that I don't have anything. I mean, I remember that you're in New York, and I love going to New York, and
Yeah.
I generally have a very positive outlook on people and always assume the best. Right.
Hmm.
Whereas in the past, I may have assumed the worst. So I don't think I necessarily had um, any impressions. It was just I'm really excited, and you're very personable.
Hmm.
So it was very easy to have conversation with you, and I think we connected on that level. It's when it's
Yeah.
easy to communicate and conversation flows. I
Yeah.
can talk for days. So all good. Nothing bad, but
All right.
I
And
don't
with that,
really.
with that, I'm exactly the same as you. So I'm gonna cue up our Oscar music for this episode, or we'll be on here for the next 4 hours. Be like, all right,
Yeah.
it's time. It's time. You've said your piece because
Yeah.
I'm saying that about myself, not just you. Like I'm the exact same way.
Mhm.
Cool. So my first impression of you, I believe we connected on a virtual meeting, on a Zoom meeting, and
Yes.
as people can already tell, like you are a ton of energy and a ton of fun and like super light and bubbly. I believe you were
Yeah.
actually a cheerleader in college, weren't you?
I was. I
Oh, what a
cheered from seventh
surprise.
grade to yeah, and it's funny because I part of me was like, how can I weave cheerleading into my work? And I kind of quietly did it, but this year I'm very outwardly like, hey, I'm a coach, but like I'm really a cheerleader. Like I'm applying what I did on the field and on the basketball court in real life. Because hey, cheerleaders are just fun, and I need to embrace that a little bit more and not look at it from the negative perspective. So
Yeah,
I
oh,
am
totally.
I'm embodying the cheerleader vibe for sure.
Yeah, so that was my impression of you. And you're right. Well, it's funny. You're like, it was so long ago. I think
Yeah,
it wasn't even 2 years ago, but it
I
does
know.
feel, it feels like a lifetime because I know we've both been up to so much since then.
Yeah. I mean, the
But
last
yeah,
2 years have been like mentally rough for me too. So I feel like that's why it feels like it's so long. It's been a long time since I've been back in this like woohoo energy. So, and it's
yeah,
funny that, we're talking now and doing the show because I still have energy, but you're catching me at a point where I have so much energy that I'm like not even sleeping because it's
wow.
too much. So we can talk about that
So
later.
yeah, okay, sounds good. Awesome. So let's get into it. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
First question for you. What is something that you nerd out about, April?
And this is so funny because I ask this on my show as well. What's something you geek out about? And I thought that I planned something in my head about what I would say, but I nerd out on everything. I am a self proclaimed nerd and so proud of it. One of the things that I'm super nerding out on right now is I've been taking ukulele lessons for 7 or 8 months. So I'm getting really, really excited about just playing music and attempting to sing and play at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very self soothing. Of course, I have to take lessons so that I actually practice, which is good. I need that accountability because I tried to learn guitar many, many years ago, self self-teach, and it just didn't work. But I have this cute little purple ukulele, and I talk to people and ask them, what pop song is your favorite? And then I go on YouTube and try to find the chords and then just start strumming. And it feels so good to just be able to do that. Whereas
Yeah, it's cool.
a little bit longer. So that's my latest thing that I'm nerding out about.
I love it. I'm gonna play fortune teller, or educated guesser is a better thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna guess a song that you learned to play on the ukulele very early. Let's see if I'm right.
Okay.
Somewhere Over the Rainbow?
No!
You don't what? I feel like that's the ukulele song.
No. I'm a very pop culture, like love pop music kind of girl. So anything that is on the radio, I tried. But
so what are you playing
you
right now?
Want to know what?
Oh man,
I'm playing songs from Hamilton right now. So that's from the musical.
Okay, so like, let's say that my wife and I and kid came over to your house, and your kids are there. Mm-hmm. We had a few drinks, and I'm like, April, break out the uke.
Yeah.
And it's got to be from Hamilton. What's your go-to?
So I'm learning You'll Be Back, but like in an intense way where like I'm doing different strum patterns and all of that stuff. So I'm learning it from start to finish, and then going to attempt to sing over it later. So that's the one. I actually did that last Saturday. We had a family game night at our house, mm-hmm. and during a break, I pulled it out. I don't even know why. And I just started playing, and everyone started singing. So I was like, this is fun. Let's do more of this. And then we went back to playing games. Yeah,
that's super cool. I feel like that was probably the thing that was missing that's missing in Hamilton is a ukulele player. Like in the Broadway show, they could have scratched all like the R&B stuff, the rap stuff, the guitars and the basses and the drums, and just had a ukulele, like an unplugged version of Hamilton. Yeah,
or just have the king come out and like sing his song and like the ukulele. That would be super fun.
That would be hilarious.
And it'd have to be a purple ukulele too.
Yes, of course. So I'm a musician as well. So I play guitar, and I learned how to play My Shot. That song has a ton of chords.
Yeah.
So that is a tough one.
Yeah. So I started easy. So like, I'm playing You'll Be Back right now. It's very chordy and it's good. But the other songs that I play, so I've been playing, I love Michelle Branch. So the song that I'm trying to think of the name of it. I've been playing it every day, but it's, what is it called?
She had one super famous song, and then she also did a song with Carlos Santana, right? Isn't that Michelle Branch?
Yeah, it's one of the slower songs that she, Goodbye to You. That's what it's called.
Okay. Very nice.
So yeah.
Well, in the show notes, we'll throw up a link to any videos you'd like to share with the audience about you and your purple ukulele.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So next question for you. Mm-hmm. What is something that is inside your comfort zone that might be outside somebody else's? And like I do for a lot of my guests, I'm going to eliminate some things because this can't be too easy for you. So it can't be like recording, singing on YouTube. It can't be speaking in public because I know you do that. It can't be writing a book. It can't be like cheering in a stadium of 50,000 people. Like what's something else that might be a bit more surprising to somebody like me who knows a little bit about you that's inside your comfort zone that might be outside of somebody else's?
So I am super hyper organized. That might be something that if you would have said that, I'd been like, I don't really know what to say. So growing up, I am the type of person that when there's a lot of chaos, I will sit there and create a process in a couple minutes and say, okay, here's how we can do this so that it's, as it moves as efficiently and as quickly as possible, but is also fun. And so that's really my zone of genius in terms of like, okay, we've got a problem. How do we solve it? Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it. But
there it is. I knew it was coming. This is like I'm like, no, this is like, and we'll talk about this, but I do improv. April does improv. I'm like, I guarantee you, here comes some sort of like improv line because it's too easy. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. But so, a lot of times when I was growing up, I was like, man, I'm super organized. I could be somebody's assistant. I would be like so good at that. But that's not really what I want to do. I don't want to be working for somebody else. And so I spend a lot of time, like some of the things that I geek out about outside of ukulele and stuff is like managing my calendar. Like just that's like a puzzle that never ends. And it's like, okay, where is this going to fit? Like, I think even I had to reschedule this because I accidentally scheduled it on the same day that I was supposed to go to lunch with somebody, and then it didn't happen, and then the date wasn't available anymore. So it's a never ending puzzle, and trying to fit like, okay, what am I going to do in this half hour, and this half hour, and this day and that day. I love planning, and it's super easy for me to do. And
Yeah.
for other people, it's like, I the structure like drives people nuts. But I thrive off of structure, and sometimes I overdo it. So
You're a
totally in my comfort zone.
yeah, you're a heavy J in the Myers-Briggs is what I'm hearing. Have you
Yes.
ever taken the Myers-Briggs? Yeah.
Yes, I
My
took it
friend,
twice,
yeah,
and I
you're
actually
a heavy
got two
J.
different. Yes, I the first time I took it, I was an I, and then the second time I took it, it was an E, and there was like a 5 year difference.
Hmm.
And so it's really interesting because I really toe the line on all of those. I feel like I break all personality tests because it's like I'm a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Yeah, I
That's
could throw
hilarious.
another Mambo Number Five song. It's like I'm a
Yeah.
little bit of yeah, no. But yeah,
Well,
so
but
it's
then you did it anyway. It's perfect. You're like, yeah, but no, but I did it anyway.
yeah.
I'll just leave this
So
there. It's
yeah.
awesome.
Oh my god.
So good. All right. So I'm super curious about this next question.
Yeah.
Flipping the script. So what's something that's outside of your comfort zone that's most likely inside of somebody else's?
So, and I think this is funny because this is probably the thing that's the most challenging for me. And I'm slowly getting comfortable in it in my own way. But I hate sales with a passion. And I attract a lot of people that are very, very scared to sell. And I think that there's just a lot of the way that I like to be sold to is so quirky that and but it's not the way that many people sell. And so getting comfortable with asking people for help is something that I've struggled with my entire life, and sales is part of that, right? Because sales is really just
Hmm.
trying to influence somebody to take action on something, whether it's
Yeah.
money or whatnot. But and it's not necessarily as bad when um I'm asking somebody to do something because I can justify that. But when it comes to money, I struggle because, people come from different walks of life, and I've, worked really hard to get to a very financially stable place, but to also ask people to, invest in certain things, whether or not I'm not sure if they need it, is a really hard thing for me. So a lot of times
Mm.
I have to sit there and say, I'd rather not get the rejection. I'd rather really get to know the person and say like, well, this might be something that would be good for you, instead of just, hey, maybe this would be good for you. Um, and then, them saying, yeah, I think that might be something that I need. It's like, I really want to know. And maybe it comes from my, like, coming from a place where being wasteful was bad. And so like
Hmm.
I don't like getting people to waste, and I know that there's a lot of manipulative sales tactics that are out there that just get you to pay, like that $15 a month membership that you're like, this is so good in theory, but I have no time to log into this thing. And and then you just keep on charging. Like I have Audible subscription, like keep on, like you got some more new audiobooks, but which I want to read, but I just
Oh,
am not.
totally.
And meanwhile I'm just collecting credits to buy books that then when it's just, I don't like wasting. And so I think that that's a big struggle for me, and it should be easier. Like I think that in my mind it shouldn't be difficult. And so I've had to kind of reframe how I want to sell and do it in my own way so that
Yeah.
it's more comfortable. And so it's a work in progress, but it's definitely something that I struggle with to this day. And it's just because I want people to like really get the value that they need, and I want it to be reasonable and not just the flashy thing.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that's something, it's something that a lot of coaches struggle with. I think a lot of coaches come from a not like sales background. I happen
yeah.
to come from a sales background, but
So
you
you've
said
got
something that,
like you've got it all. You've got like the
nah,
big.
not really. No, but like it's actually not necessarily a benefit because people, this, people have to see the possibility with you. And
Yeah.
coaching is for some people, it's such a luxury item.
Yep.
For people like me, like I'll probably have a coach forever.
Hmm.
But it's such a luxury item that for some people it's like, and also, like, hey, I'm going to work with Apryl and be more satisfied in my life. What's the return
Yeah.
on investment? And if you're really stuck on the money and the numbers and the data, like you can't put a number on your happiness or showing up as a better mom or dad or whatever the roles you play that you want to work with a coach on. So
Hmm.
in a way, like, yes, I know I've gone through like enterprise selling things. I know a lot of the frameworks, but what has actually been a breakthrough for me is not coming from salesperson when I'm talking about my coaching and just standing for people's greatness and then sitting back and saying like, this is what I can offer. This is me. If it feels good to you, let's do it. If it doesn't, that's okay too. And not being attached to the outcome. Because when you work in a,
100%.
yeah, when you work in a corporation, you're very attached to the outcome because your job depends on it. And
Hmm.
in coaching, our jobs depend on people hiring us as well, but it's a little different. And the good news is for people like, well, I think almost any coach who's out there committed to doing the work, who's gone through a program, like who's invested in ourselves to actually learn how to do this work well. There's so many more clients than we could ever take on that want to work with exactly us. Like you have
Totally.
hundreds of people. There's hundreds of people who want to work with me. They just need to find me. So for me, it's more about the marketing and sharing what I'm
Yeah.
about than it is about the actual selling. I actually find there's not much in the way of selling when you get somebody on the phone who's like, hey, I saw your website, or oh, I listened to your podcast, or Apryl, I read your book. It's really amazing. Like, I want more of that in my life. It's not even a sales conversation. It's just like logistics. Like, oh, here we meet weekly, and here's how much it costs, and here's what we're going to try and accomplish together, and sound good or not. And if they say yes, great. If they say no, that's fine too, because there's other people out there who want that.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
been very
So
confronting for me. Yeah, very confronting for me, and gone through some breakdowns on it. But yeah, I feel like I'm moving into a better space of that. Some days, and
yeah.
other days, it's like gotta sell something.
I know. I know. Yeah.
So it
I
goes.
spent all of last year trying to evaluate the whole concept of wealth. And because I think it was in October of 2018, I did this like live video where I was crying about the fact that I'm not making the money that I wanted to, and I was making money, but it wasn't enough in terms of my standards. But at the same time, it was like I didn't want to do what it took to make more money. So what was that all about? And so I'm very much at peace with where I'm at and what I'm selling, and you know it's definitely not this like, oh, I'm on a mission to like make six figures, because that's not my priority. But it's just the concept of sales is just kind of like, yeah, that's not my wheelhouse, but I know that I can figure it out. It's just as I do everything else, and
Yeah,
it's
sure.
really how you look at it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Awesome. So I alluded to this earlier, but I know you speak. You speak in
Yes.
public. You do conferences and such. You do. So you speak on stage in improv and comedy. So you're a performer, which is
Hmm.
awesome.
I just signed up to do stand up.
I
I'm
saw
so
that.
scared.
Oh
Ah.
man, exciting! I have my friend Casey who has been on the show is going to do some stand up too, and she's going to be hilarious. I can't wait. So Casey, if you listen to this, I'm going to make her listen to this now because I'm going to give her a shout out. She's hilarious. Can't wait to support her when she does her first open mic here in a little while. It's going to be awesome. I have a great respect for stand up. I'm not scared to do improv. I'm scared to do stand ups, which means I'm probably going to go take a stand up class sometime this year because I
Yeah, that's
think it's
exactly
such
why
a
I'm doing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You'll
And
be
mine's
the
timed out.
yeah.
Yeah, mine's timed out to happen the week before my 40th birthday or after my 40th birthday. So I timed that out really well. And I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I'm absolutely terrified and I'm scared. And everybody seems to have faith in me. And I don't know where that comes from, but we'll see.
Well,
hopefully, hopefully I won't totally fall on my face.
yeah, you'll be the marvelous Mrs. The marvelous Mrs. You'll be the Filipino version of Rachel Brosnahan,
We'll see
if you know the
about that.
reference. We'll see about
Yeah,
that.
we'll see.
The non Jewish version, and
Not Jewish.
you're also not divorced, so you won't have
Mm,
those jokes. But you do have the kids.
do have the
Talk about that.
kids.
Lots of joke in there. Awesome.
And
So,
Asian too, like joking
oh,
around
of
about Asian
course,
culture. But
Ali
I don't want to
Wong.
be like I don't want to be a replica of Joe Coy, but like he's still hilarious, and I would watch him all the
Yeah,
time. So
that's awesome.
mm.
So, I give you 5 minutes to give a speech to the entire world. What would you give your speech on, and why?
So this is funny because there was this one event that I did where it was a 5-minute speech, and you had 20 slides that you could use during the speech, but they would auto advance every 15 seconds.
I've heard
It's
about this.
this.
They do this
It's called
at
Ignite. Hmm. They have it all
they do
over
this
the
at
country.
South by Southwest. I've heard they do this. I knew somebody who did it.
Yeah,
Said it was
it's
really fun and
super
very stressful.
intense. It's
Yeah.
very stressful, but it's also very powerful. And I've done it 3 times. And I think I got more comfortable with just winging it in the later times. So it wasn't as put together, but there's just, the pressure wasn't there. But the first one that I did, this is probably sums up my beliefs in a nutshell, but I come from um, I'm one of those types of people that, yes, I'm very bubbly and I'm very easy to connect to, but I still constantly struggle with feeling like I fit in.
Mm.
And it's partially because I have so many different interests. And so if you take a look at a room of people, of like with all my friends, it's like people I used to work with in education or higher ed, or people that I went to college with that are engineers, or people that are in the improv community, or people, the people who were like the not cool people in the lunchroom in high school. Like, I talk to everyone and anyone, but I feel like I don't fit anywhere. I kind of just am a chameleon of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
And so this concept of judgment, I also am one of the least judgmental people. You could be doing all of these things that make no sense to me, and I would come and I'd still approach you with a loving heart. And not a lot of the world is that way. And we need judgment to be able to connect to things that are familiar to us. So it's absolutely necessary. But the way that we judge sometimes is so negative, and I get the short end of that a lot because I'm Asian, I'm a female,
Mm-hmm.
I'm short, I live in a very affluent area of the Chicago suburbs. I have like all of these things, like I'm a parent, I just have all of these labels, and I don't feel like I fit in any of them. And a lot of times I
Mm.
get the negative judgment of like, oh, you take your kids to Taco Bell to eat dinner. Like, that's like, how can you be proud of yourself feeding them crap? And or, oh, you were a cheerleader in college, you must be dumb. Or,
Oh
hey, you're
man.
an electrical engineer, like you don't have the look of an electrical engineer. And so it's like, come
Yeesh.
on, people. And it's been a lot of a struggle for me in my life because I'm such a people pleaser, or I have historically been a people pleaser. And I would internalize that as like, I'm nothing. And so this talk that I did, which is probably the talk that I would like go on the road with, is just how can
Yeah.
you judge people more compassionately, because you don't know what they're going through. They might look like they've got it all together and be a mess deep down inside, but they're not telling you. They could be somebody who like looks like they're a mess, but like they've got some amazing things that are going on that they're not boasting about on social media or whatever that is. You don't know where people are coming from, and a lot of times we hide the things that we're ashamed of. And so for you to make that negative judgment for them is like hitting them when they're already down. And so really taking a look at, when you make a judgment on somebody and it's necessary, you kind of need to do that to kind of process what you're seeing. But
Yeah.
before you make that snap judgment, think about what could be. How can you look at it from a positive perspective? Because that's the reason why negativity and conflict permeates our stuff. Every time a celebrity does something bad, we judge them on to the nth degree. But if a normal person was doing the same exact thing, nobody really cares. So how is that fair? Celebrities
Yeah.
are actually, we're not really that different. They just have a platform and they have a talent that the general society like thinks should be more visible. And
Yeah.
they might have done things to get themselves there. They may have sacrificed things to get themselves there. Like, we're all human. And so it's just like, stop being negative and stop being judgy. That would be
Yeah.
my 5-minute speech.
I love
Did it take
it.
me
I
five
love
minutes
it.
to explain that?
I don't know. I
Maybe.
wasn't counting. It sounded great. I love it. Yeah, definitely take that
Yeah.
on the road. I think that's an awesome message, and thank you for sharing that. I can totally picture you giving that message.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Awesome. So, April, this is the part of the show where I'm going to ask you to share your journey, and
mhm.
this is where you get to share whatever you want. So, this is the improv part of our show. It's all improv, kind of.
Yeah.
But this is the part where you really get to talk about whatever you want, and you've shared a little bit already about where you're originally from and where you live
hmm
today. So, like what you've done, and
Yeah.
also what you're up to today and moving forward.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
fire
absolutely. So,
away.
oh gosh, so I could talk about myself for hours, which sounded bad when that came out right now, but I just have so many stories to tell. And that's probably why I wrote a book. So you can read that book if you want the long version. But in a way that is actually applicable to, to your own life and how you can change things. But basically, I have just been a person who's super driven. I care a lot. I have a lot of, passions. I'm really into music, and I'm really into
Mm-hmm.
sports. I'm really into math and science, and I'm really into just I love connecting with people. There's so many things about me. Um, I grew up in a household. I'm the last of my dad's side of the family who was born in the Philippines and came over. Everybody else was pretty much born here. So I have that immigrant mentality of, we didn't come from a lot. I think my parents were successful in terms of the Philippines and worked super hard to get there. And, we started a life here in the US to, just have more opportunity.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I didn't have, my parents indulged in things that made them happy. We went on a lot of vacations, but we were skimping on everything else. It
Mm-hmm.
was just kind of like clipping coupons. Like that was like a big memory of what I did growing up.
Yeah.
And my parents wanted, or maybe it was my mom, but my parents wanted me to be successful. And in the Philippines, being successful is having a well-paying job that makes a lot of money. And so they wanted me to do that standard doctor, lawyer, engineer thing. And doctor and lawyer seemed too intimidating and too much school. So I went the engineering route because I'm like, hey, I like math and science. So I went to Northwestern University, got a degree in electrical engineering. During that time, I was a cheerleader all 4 years and captain of the cheerleading squad. So a natural leader. I had all these other interests that I did when I was growing up, like ice skating and what else did I do? Taekwondo. I was a black belt in Taekwondo.
Aren't you also like, we've never met in person, aren't you like 5 feet tall or something like that?
I am 5 feet tall. Yes.
Yeah.
Last
Wow.
time I
Look at
was
that.
measured. Black belt in Taekwondo. I was a singer. I did musical theater. I was in the vocal jazz group. Like I did everything, and I was like the nerdy, like, hey, I'm in all AP classes, all of this stuff. So I was one of the types of people who was just like every minute I was doing something. I couldn't rest. I then after I graduated from college, my journey outside of all of my career was basically the main focus. And my first job, my first full-time job was working at a IT consulting company. I was doing
Mm-hmm.
data warehousing for um, the SAP platform, which is like a German software, and that was fun. But it was okay. I while I really really loved technology, and my aspirations were to like be working at Apple and designing the latest cell phone, but I graduated
Yeah.
from college when the tech bubble happened. So I did have a job at Dell, or an internship at Dell the summer before my senior year, but they canceled it because of everything kind of
Yeah.
breaking apart. So that could have been the path that I would have been living in Austin and like having a totally different life right now, but that wasn't in the cards. So I did IT consulting, and I stopped working there after a few years because the work-life balance was terrible. And I was trying to think ahead to, I eventually want to have a family, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. And there was one point where my boss was sending me to Australia, which, who doesn't want to go to Australia for free, to do a project, but they wanted me to leave on the day before my brother was graduating from high school. And I really prioritize family. And I wanted to try to leave a day later, but he basically told me to choose my family or my job. So my mom and I talked about it, and my parents and I talked about it, and she was just like, this is your job, like just go, like it's going to be okay. But, that's one of the big regrets in my life, if I have any, where I like just chose my career over my family, because that's not who I am now. So after that, like I was really like, I need to find something that's predictable, that, I know what the schedule is, and then I can work everything around it. Or, they're a little bit more forgiving about the obligations that I have outside the house. And so I took a total 180, went back to school and did an alternative certification to become a high school teacher. I had like half of a degree
Wow.
to be a high school teacher. I taught high school math, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna like inspire these kids to like love math the way that I do. But in an alternative certification, this is basically where you don't have like a gap in employment. They basically like you take the summer and you take courses, and you take courses throughout your first year of teaching, and you get immersed into the classroom right away. So I took that summer to take some classes, and then all of a sudden I was teaching in that fall. But as the kind of balance to that, or to make that work, we worked in the city school system. So I worked in Chicago Public Schools, and it's a good school system. There's a lot of opportunity for growth, but it's very, very different from the high school that I grew up in, where the parents didn't care as much about their kids' education. It was just like, this is a place to send my kids while I go work.
Yeah.
There wasn't a big value on education. And I came in with a very idealistic view of how I was going to shift these kids. And some of them didn't want to be shifted. And it was heartbreaking. And I took it on emotionally so much that I was just so stressed out. My husband says that that's probably like the lowest point of our marriage.
Yeah.
And I got married while I was a teacher. So it was nice because I got the summers to plan my wedding. But outside of that, I was exhausted. And you were basically cramming a year's worth of work in 9 months. So it's tough. And being a teacher is rough. So, I have so much respect for that profession. They just don't get enough. They deserve so much more, especially that they're shaping our future, the future of our lives, right? Our society.
Yeah, totally.
So I did that for 3 years, and I left after that third year. I didn't have a job. I was, oh my gosh, what was I going to do? I started applying for temp jobs, and I was trying to take career assessments and trying to figure out like, where do I fit? Because, what am I good at? I'm good at organization, but I don't want to like just be somebody's assistant. I'm good at crunching numbers, but I don't want to be an accountant. Like there's so much that they kind of typecasted me for a career, but I was like, that's not good enough. But I did end up working at a temp role at my university, and that kind of opened the doors to working there full time. I have a lot of passion, obviously, for my college because I was a cheerleader there. I'm bleeding purple. And I worked there, and I ran a few academic departments. I started with the math department, so it was a nice shift from being a teacher to running the administrative side of a university department. Moved to a bigger research department in engineering, so I was leading the mechanical engineering department. And then my last job was working in finance at the business school. And my final job, I worked there for 3 years at Kellogg. And my last job, yes, such a great school. The first couple of years, I was kind of the medium to communicate between finance and the marketing and advancement or alumni relations departments, because that was the big place where money comes in, and really understanding how they bring money in and how they can, not, leverage spending or spend more wisely. But my last year, I was focused on really just looking at the whole entire financial portfolio for the school and trying to make predictions and forecast and have conversations about how we end in the best financial picture at the end of every fiscal year. So that was like a huge role. And in that, I also had a leadership role outside that was non-paid, where I was the chair of the staff advisory council, which, in a sense, like if I were to try to describe it, it's kind of like a union, but not a union. It's 25 of the staff members across the university who are representing the entire staff body and talking about different ways to make sure that we are feeling supported and engaged, and working with the president and the head of HR to put some of these things in place. So I developed a really, really great relationship with with the president of the university, who's still there. And I don't think that my boss enjoyed that as much. And, this is my speculation. She might have had a totally separate perspective or reason, but our working relationship was really good for the first 2 years, and it deteriorated during the third, so much to the point that I was so stressed out because I wasn't meeting my work, like the work demands. I was crying at work every day and trying to hide it. I was falling apart and just trying to be in denial about it. And then when I finally couldn't handle it anymore, I tried to apply for another job, but that morning that I had an interview for this amazing job that I would have absolutely loved, I went to the dermatologist, and she pointed out that I had like a humongous bald spot on the back of my head that I was like totally delirious, didn't even realize was there. So over the course of the next few months, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? it was an autoimmune disease that was kind of dormant that got activated because I was so stressed. And a few months later, it had kept on growing and growing, and I just didn't come to work one day.
Oh, wow.
And so it was one of those things where, I basically binged watched TV for 6 weeks, took my
Mm-hmm.
kids to daycare, came home, picked them up, and I just laid in bed all day and did that for like 6 weeks. And I wasn't ready to go back to work after my leave was up. And I made the decision to quit and take some time to really focus on what is it that I'm here to do, because I, felt like a failure. What was I going to, I just changed jobs 3 times and now I have to do it again, and had to kind of live with that. But it gave me the opportunity to really take a step back and think about what's really important to me. So in a sense, I was like basically playing the coach role for myself and trying to envision a different life that would be on my terms. And so it eventually led me to life coaching, which I was kind of resistant to just because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what life coaching was when,
Yeah.
I was like, professional development, what's personal development? I don't get it. It's like, doesn't that do with your career? And so learning that, but deciding to take that leap of faith and do the coaching training, and not just did it train me how to coach other people, but it was a transformation itself for me, and is given me so much clarity. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do these things. So everything starts to speed up. All of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to, do all this stuff. I'm going to take an improv class. I'm going to grow this business. And I was never the type of person who would, I was always like, I'm going to work for somebody else. Like I
Yeah.
very much enjoyed the structure. The thought of making my own money was absolutely terrifying, because it's like, if I don't make the money, if I don't make the sale, which is like what scares me, like this is nothing. And so it's just been a whirlwind of, you know, thing after thing. And I just realized that when you're doing things that you're really passionate about, all of a sudden you can accomplish so much more. Didn't realize that. So I feel like
Yeah.
in the last 5 years, I've been in business for 5 years. It's coming up on like,
Wow.
uh, on the 10th is my anniversary from when I started this business. Um, or February 10th is my anniversary. So 5 years, I've done all of these things, and that's probably more than I accomplished in my 13 years of working prior in various jobs, plus the 4 years in college. Like I've accomplished so much that like I'd be here for another hour and a half explaining to you what I've done. But also just being comfortable with who I am and being completely self-expressed and not being afraid to, just do my own thing. And then now trying to inspire other people to do that as well and help them accomplish
That's
their
awesome.
goals.
Yeah,
So,
that's amazing.
yeah. So what I'm focusing on right now, after doing all of these things and having all these different offerings, all of these offerings are there, but the things that I'm putting all my eggs into is the Accountability Success Circle, which is a program that has now turned into a community as of January 2020. It's a collective of people who are focused on wanting to be productive, wanting to live passionately, and just having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side, which is going to take a little bit of a while to build, is Cheerful Mind Media, which is going to be a media platform of sorts that's focused on positive, inclusive media, because media is the thing that influences how we perceive the world. And some of it, even though it's very entertaining, may not actually be real. So I want to bring some authenticity and realness to like what real people are struggling with, and make people aware of that, and give people that opportunity to just look at life through a different lens that's a little bit more positive and a little bit more comforting. And but I'm in the very initial stages of that, and you'll see that kind of grow over probably the next 5 years. So
Yeah.
those are my passion projects.
Oh, very cool, Apryl. I heard you have some amazing, amazing guests lined up in March for your television show or for your live show.
Mm-hmm. I
Incredible
do.
guest, like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for who
Stay
that might be.
tuned. Yeah, we don't know. I
Awesome.
think there's like somebody with a name that starts with J. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's
We'll see. Who knows?
like my team handles all that. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly.
So,
You're like, I don't know. I just show up and I just like get notes handed to me 5 minutes before the episode, and then
yeah.
and then you go back and like have grapes fed to you and massages and fans and all that stuff. Yes, I get it.
Oh, if only. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I get it.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Apryl. That's super cool. I knew some of that from our past discussions. I didn't know all that. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what struck me about what's so cool about this show, I interview people from really, like, literally from all walks of life.
Hmm.
Everybody that I interview that either is a coach or has hired a coach or has done a coaching program, and some people do coaching programs and they end up not coaching, which is totally cool too. If that's not what
Hmm.
their thing is for. Is they're like, nobody ever says, yeah, and then I hired a coach and it really didn't work out for me. Oh, I decided to be a coach and I hate what I do. Like, it's like the thing, like everybody loves it. And that
Hmm.
also equates to entrepreneurs. I do a lot of also interviews with entrepreneurs, and most every entrepreneur will have a story about, most of the people I talk to have a story about working for somebody else, not being aligned to what they want to create in the world, having a rebirth or like a metamorphosis in their career, coming out the other side and trying something and not always being successful. But every single person is like, it's the best thing I ever did. And I learned and I've done, and what you said is so true for myself and for everybody I talked about this. Like, I've done more in 2 years than I did for 15 years working for somebody else, because it's you got to figure it out yourself. So you learn a ton about yourself, how you show up in the world, and also
Hmm.
like what you're actually capable of, because you
Yeah.
don't have to. Like you said, the reason we like processes, like I spent 19 years in corporate, it's great because somebody hands you a laptop and says, hey, here's your job, go do this thing. And if you do that thing well, you're set. And now it's
Yep.
like, now we wake up in the morning, you're like, hey, April, do that thing. And that thing includes everything from marketing, finance, accounting, um, getting your kids to school on time, making sure they're
Yep.
dressed, like all, and also like, oh, I got a coaching call at 10 and my kid's sick. What do I do? Like,
Yeah.
being able to balance all of it. So super cool. I'm excited for you to see what you create next. I think you're gonna be big. I'm gonna be excited someday to go like, she's on my show. She's on my show.
Oh.
Now she's out there. Now that person you see out there, she was on my show, and I know her. I knew her when. So, um,
Yes.
so now we're gonna flip it a little bit, and you get to play the host, which I know you love doing, and you get to ask me anything, and
Yeah.
I will answer it.
Now, I thought about this and I'm like, what can I ask? And I don't know why there's like a money theme here, but this is the question that I wanted to ask you. What would you say is the investment, like, what is an investment that you've made in your life that was absolutely the worst, like, the worst investment that you could have made? Like, it was absolutely just like completely worthless. Um, and if you could go back in time, you probably wouldn't have done
Yeah, oh, man, that's a good question. I thought you were going to say the best investment. I had a list
that.
of
No,
like,
that's too
I had a list of like,
easy.
yeah, I had a list of like 20 things. I'm like, oh, this is going to be easy. The worst investment. Oh, I actually know what it is. I got locked in to some fancy marketing,
Mm-hmm.
and I spent a decent amount of money on a program that looked in and did 10 minutes of, and I said, this is horrible. And I never touched it again. And I'm not going to call it out because I don't think that's good
Oh
mojo.
yeah,
I
no,
think,
you don't have to do that.
yeah. And I think for some people, this program's really good. I don't know really what I was thinking. It's one of
Hmm.
those things now looking back, like I already had the skill that I was trying to learn. You ever have that where you're like, oh,
Yeah,
I need to find an expert to tell me this thing. And I'm like, wait,
that's already what I knew.
yeah, and people already ask me how to do this. And it wasn't that it was okay quality for the price that I paid. And it was an online course, right? So for the
Hmm.
price that I paid, I found it to be a little unprofessional in terms of the way it was presented.
Hmm.
And because there's a 30-day money back guarantee, and I didn't even attempt to look at it until 45 days in. So I basically flushed my money down the toilet. I didn't try and go back
Yeah,
to them and be like, oh, this isn't what I expected. Like, I don't believe in that. Like, 30-day money back guarantee means I need to get off my ass in 30 days and take a look at this and make sure it fits for me. My breakdown, not their breakdown. So that's the
yeah,
worst investment for me. It wasn't like even 4 figures, but it was multiple hundreds of dollars, and I got zero value out of it.
yeah.
So one of the things that I have always struggled with that I am working on in my life is getting attached to the next. What's the next shiny object? Like, what's the next
Yes.
mastermind? What's the next group coaching program? What's the next thing I can do that that is like the thing that's going to be the next thing that's going to like bring me up a level? So I've been really focused this year, both in my business and in my personal life, of staying the course on the one thing I do know is going to be good for me, and it has to do with my coaching program that I just graduated from. So
Hmm.
staying in that structure, I'm actually going back as like a leader, like a leader in the room, a coach in the room, mentor coach for the next wave of people coming through the program in New York, which will
That's
be
awesome.
super awesome. And it's kind of a shiny object, but it's a shiny object that I'm in and committed to already.
Yeah.
And then besides that, I'm like, I don't really need to do anything else. Like I got everything I need. Like my breakthrough is like, man, you got everything you need to be wildly successful, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
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 Really
And
good
I like this
question.
question because, even though you're talking about something in a negative way, and this is not to say that, it's not a good investment for somebody else, but
Hmm.
it's just kind of reiterating that whole point of like, you need to know what works for you. Right. And sometimes you need to spend a boatload of money to be like, that doesn't work for me. I can't tell you how much I spent in my first year of business because I was like, ooh, I want to try. Why do people do paid Facebook ads and like what is this all about? And you hear all these things and you don't know until you know. But I know now that spending money on Facebook ads is stupid, especially if you're not super 100% clear on what you're trying to sell and how you're
That's
going
right.
to market and who you're. And it's so funny too because especially in like business programs, you kind of think that you're like, oh, well, I don't know this aspect of the business, but it always comes down to the same thing. Like you can literally buy any business program, go ahead and invest in one. But if you are doing it year after year after year after year, like you're learning the same things because they're always going to
Totally.
say, identify your target market. Like if you don't have that, you cannot do anything. And it always starts there. And so even if they give you that shiny, fancy, marketing language, it's not if you can't get over that hurdle, it's hard. But
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
looking at these things that that don't work, like I was listening to you say, this wasn't professional and this, or it wasn't done in the way that I did, or there was not something that drew me to like really want to take action right away. Like
Yeah.
those are kind of a really good clue into things that just don't align with your personal values, right? You like
Yeah.
professionalism and you like things that are engaging, and so it's always fun to just kind of throw people in those situations where they have to like identify the best or the worst because you can really understand what a person's all about by just asking them one of those polarizing questions. So
Yeah. One thing I'll
great
share,
job.
thank you. So it's like, yeah, like talking to two coaches talking to each other here. One of the things that I didn't understand is this: there is a massive, massive industry of people who sell to coaches and consultants and solopreneurs who provide a service.
Mhm.
And like my friend, I think I'd heard this thing a long time ago, but I love this. Like they're selling the pickaxes to the gold miners. And
Mhm.
I mean, my LinkedIn inbox for a while when I changed my title was just clogged with like lead generation systems and branding expertise and all these things. And like I actually didn't do any of that stuff because as a former salesperson, I'd read their copy and then I would like sometimes I'd troll them a little bit. I'd be like, so I have 14 of these other offers in my inbox. What makes you different? My favorite answer ever was, we really focus on our customer. I was like, so what's the alternative that you in a service-based profession, you don't focus on me as your customer. So what do you focus on then? Like you don't focus on anything. And uh, it's funny.
You're
And
playing their game right back at them.
I'm playing their game right back at them. And there's a woman named Stacey Bayman. I don't know if you've heard of her.
Mm-mm.
She's got an amazing niche. She's awesome. She has a really cool podcast. It's called Make Money as a Life Coach, and it's really good. And it is not about how to be slimy. It's actually how to like do what we were talking about, how to not sell and actually just stand for people's greatness. So
Mhm.
she is somebody that I really admire. And the advice, I have a lot of coaches who listen to this show. The advice I would give that has worked well for me, and I've scaled my business quite a bit faster than most coaches have, and I think partially that's because from like my background in business, but also like really like take like being serious about it, being an action around it. She has the thing, and I just love this. I actually have it on my computer desktop. There's only three things you actually need to start a coaching practice or a consulting practice or whatever it is you want to create. Tell
Mhm.
people what you do, or sorry, um, yeah, like tell people what you do, make offers to help them.
Mhm.
That's it. Like, I'm sorry. Sorry, I missed the first point. Meet as many people as you can.
Yeah.
And that can incorporate anything, whether that's for you, it's networking, whether that's social media, whether that be ads. Like I actually think ads can work. I don't personally run ads, but I know people that ads
Yeah.
are very effective for. Whatever that means, meet them through marketing, meet them in person, meet as many people as possible. Tell them you're a coach, tell them you're a consultant, tell them you're a speaker, whatever it is you're doing, and then make an offer to help them. And the offer is not, oh, I'm going to help you. Here's a link to my program that's going to cost you money. It's like, oh, like, can I connect you to somebody? Oh, you saw I
Hmm.
have somebody in my LinkedIn network. Oh, like you see that I know April. April's amazing. I'd like to connect with her because you want to talk to her about her book and just like make offers to help people and provide value. And it's
Totally.
almost inevitable. It's inevitable that your business will scale.
Yeah.
And yes, you can do all these lead systems and like, oh, like hundreds of leads, like sure. Or you can just be authentic and like meet a lot of people and tell them what you're up to and try and provide them value. And people are going to be attracted.
Totally.
It's that
Yeah.
simple.
And you have to connect with people in a way that works with you, right? Like I'm can tell you that I'm the type of person that freaking hates networking events. I go in there and I'm like
Really?
the introvert in me. I was like, I don't even know who to talk to because like who am I gonna like? And you're making the judgment off of like you look nice, let me talk to you, or oh you look like you're too busy for me. It's just very intimidating for me. I'm like in that ambivert place where I'm like I can be very very outgoing and very very talkative in an intimate setting, but in groups
Yeah.
it's not. And so for me, I'm like I would like to reimagine like networking in a way where we're all kind of coming together and it's a little bit more tame and everybody is like trying to be heard instead of like just trying to find the single person that you're going to latch onto and just talk to and have like fluffy conversation that's not deep. I love deep connection. And so
Yeah.
I'm actually this year trying to network in a different way. I'll go to like one-off networking events just
Hmm.
to see who I see and allow myself to like feel the fear for a while.
Yeah.
But I've been spending this entire year reconnecting with people that I'm already connected to and just say like, what are you up to? Like, just like, how can I help you? And, what are you like, what have you been up to since you knew me from my other former lives? And so I'm actually even cutting people on social media right now because I'm like, do I remember you? If I don't, I'm just going to unfriend and then we'll reconnect when the connection is a little bit stronger. Or if I can, Facebook stalk a little bit and be like, okay, I can't remember where I met you and I'm connected to you somehow, but like you still look interesting. So let's talk. So I'm trying to do it as a like one by one, just meeting people. I just had lunch with somebody
Yeah.
today that I met at a networking event and it was just so much fun. It's just my style of networking for sure.
Yeah. Totally. So I actually I'm the president of a networking chapter in the city, and then I'm on the leadership team of another one. But those are
Hmm.
more like we know each other, right? We meet once a week for an hour. We build relationships, we build friendships, and then it's more like we hand referrals to each other and it's not BNI, it's something different. But it's more
Yeah.
like hey, like April's in my group. I love her. This is what she does. I've got somebody for her, and we build friendships.
Yeah.
I actually don't like the cold networks. I'm a total people person. I have no fear to walk up to anybody. I don't love
Hmm.
cold networking events, and I want to offer you something, and hopefully the audience gets something out of this as well. And I
Hmm.
wrote a blog about this back in I think July or August.
Awesome.
So I set an intention, and I made it a game, which I know you're a fellow improver, so you probably like to make games out of
It's
things.
all about the game.
All
Yes.
about the playing the game. So my game was I'm going to go to this, and it was a speed networking event. 5 minutes, you sit at a table, you talk to people. My game was this because I was like, I don't need anything from this thing. Like I'm not desperate. I'm good. I operated with I think it was three different metrics. One, in any conversation, speak no more than 20% of the time.
Hmm.
Two, do not tell anybody what you do unless they specifically ask.
Hmm.
Three, do not hand anybody a business card unless they specifically ask. And four, do not make an offer to connect with anybody around anything to do with business at the end of the conversation. And I will
Yeah.
tell you, April, it was so fun. I met I
Yeah.
met I met some new friends there, and one of my friends was like, "It was weird. Like, you told me you were a coach, and that was where you left it. And usually, like, you didn't tell me who you worked with or ask me if I had a coach." And we ended up having a super cool conversation that wasn't really about what he does either. And now he's built a friendship. He's actually has been a guest on my show that's going to be released here in a couple weeks. His name is Joe Gonzalez. He's awesome. And he's like, yeah, and like it was so cool because you weren't selling me anything. I'm like, no, because it doesn't work. Like I've
It
never
doesn't
been.
work. It's
No, it's
it's totally
gross.
off-putting. It is so gross. And that's I think the last time I went to a networking event that I was afraid to go to because I was like I don't know anyone there. I was like I am not going to tell people what I do. I'm not even going to ask people what they do. Like I'm not even going to ask them like cuz I hate that question. I struggled with it all year last year. And it was like I'm nobody cares. Like yes, we're kind of there to find that out, but I'm like, I gotta find anything in my language that's not, a question that is not related to what do you do for a living, because I don't want people asking me that either, because I
I
don't really
know.
even know how to answer. So
I
yeah,
know.
definitely. I think one of the things, yeah, just trying to even go there and not say like, I want to know what your business is, even though that it's like a business networking meeting, like
Yeah.
already changes the game. But then also, making a connection to, I think this girl that I actually had lunch with, she was at this networking event. Um, and we talked, and I said, sometimes it's just fun to sit back on the couch and just people watch. Like that was all
Oh,
I
it's
said.
amazing. It's
And she's
amazing.
like, I know. And it was like, okay, now I have somebody. And then we just started talking about things. And then it was funny because somebody else came into our conversation and was like, so what do you guys do? And we didn't even know at that point like what each other did, but that was the opportunity. Then we're like, okay, well, you're asking now, so we'll talk about it. And then, but we had already established rapport. Like that's the kind of networking that is super fun.
So
But I
fun.
think
Yeah.
I've never done speed networking. Like I think it's like when they facilitate, like you talk to this person, that's actually a little bit better than like in
Hmm.
a room and just go walk up to somebody, right? Because like the whole body language of like when people are like really close, you don't want to talk to the, like
We learned
they're
all
in an
about
intimate
that.
conversation and you want to, but then how can you appear to be more open? But like, what if somebody approaches you that you're like not really interested in talking to, or, you just don't know. And so is very intimidating for me. I'd rather have something
Yeah.
facilitated. And that if I was going to do networking events, which we do in our own space and the stuff that we do, but it has to be very facilitated and
Yeah.
like almost like you're coming to take a class and here's the game and here's the rules,
Totally.
because it's
No,
just
it's
so
so
super
fun.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, just to wrap on this, like nobody is ever like, I really need some life insurance. Where
Mhm.
should I find out information? Let me go to a networking event and hopefully there's somebody there selling insurance, because there's a lot of financial people and
Exactly.
and they're lovely people, but I don't need you to tell me all the products that you sell the first 5 minutes. Or, I've been thinking about hiring a coach. I think the best place for me to go find one is to go to a networking event tonight. And I hope that there's one there. Like nobody, like for people that show up like that at networking events, like nobody cares. Like just go and shake hands and
Yeah.
like be authentic. And if it's a connection, it'll work out. And there's plenty
Yeah.
to go around. Like we're living in
Yeah.
the best economy and the best everything it's ever been. Like there's plenty to go around. Just like, yeah, but yeah, I
Totally.
figured you'd like that game.
Yeah.
So I have a few more questions for you. If you've got a few more minutes for us, would that be okay?
Yeah.
Awesome.
hmm
So April, what's the thing you're most proud of in your life?
The thing I'm most proud of, and this has to come to my kids. I'd be like a bad mom if I didn't say that. Like, and I mean, it's true. It's true. I really do. I love my kids. They, coming from my parents worked two jobs each at some points where they weren't really home, and I had to kind of fend for myself and be super responsible, which thank God I was, or where would I be right now? They were working hard to just like create a life that was comfortable for us. And, because of all their hard work, I've been able to really be successful and do a lot of things and have access to things that they didn't have when they were growing up. And, but one of the things that I always like miss about the fact that when I was growing up, my parents weren't always able to be there. We didn't have the conversations of, like, how was your day? And like, let's eat dinner together. And, my life is still crazy. It's not like I'm with my kid. I'm not like a stay at home mom and have like every minute with them, but I have made a priority to make sure that they are supported in all the ways in life. And so one
Hmm.
of the things that I've been dealing with recently is that both of my sons have been diagnosed with ADHD. And I've been, making sure that they don't look at it as a negative label, because it's
Hmm.
not. And, my older son was like, he just got into this gifted program at Northwestern, and he was like,
Congrats.
he's like, oh, they're asking me to talk about myself and say something unique about, something fun, or give them a fun fact. Should I tell them that I have ADHD? And I was like, I think you've got some better like qualities that you can share that are more interesting. And like people will be like, that's cool. But like, I mean, ADHD, that's fine. But like, let's talk about something else. But it's just the
Yeah.
fact that they've become so like, I've been able to show them this like, go and be your own person, explore, be curious, like, and then I can have these conversations with them. And they're in that sweet spot where they're 8 and 10 and they're still like, they don't hate me and like want to be a cool teenager yet, but
Yeah.
just the fact that I've been able to parent and then also do all the things that I want to do. Like, okay, I'm a parent, but I'm gonna go out on a Wednesday night and hit up an improv show. Like
Yeah. Amazing.
I do. A lot of times parents will be like, oh, the kids are almost like a bird, and I have like like I just have to put all my energy into them and I don't have time for me. So it's just being able to be an awesome parent, but also like love on myself as much as I want, and having that freedom to do that. So that's
That's
my big
awesome.
accomplishment.
Awesome. Next question for you. What's something that you were afraid might actually be true about you?
That's an interesting question. I don't even know if I can answer this because I feel like I'm always that person that where like nothing is absolute. So it's like if somebody were to say something, then anything can be partially true. Um,
I'm
but
gonna say yes,
and
and I would like you to answer the question. What's
oh,
something you
okay.
What's something you were afraid might actually be true about you?
One of the things that I this is okay. I think this is the closest that I can get to answering this question. One of my like biggest fears in life is for people to think that I'm self-centered, conceited, and like all about myself. And I think that that's probably why I've always been a, you know, overgiver to everybody externally, because it's like I don't want you to know that I don't want you to believe that like all I care about is myself. I'm not so self-absorbed. But I also think that sometimes when people don't know me, because a lot of people will make generalizations, they do look at me that way. And I actually had a friend say that to me in anger, and it like destroyed me for like a few days. And this was a couple
Hmm.
of years ago. And so, you know, this feeling of like I want to be a little bit more selfish because I always give all my energy to everybody else and I'm depleted at the end of the day. Like, why don't I deserve to, you know, treat myself to something? um but like there's always that piece of like I want to be confident but I don't want to be arrogant, and I always just wonder if if people look at me and they're like, oh, she's so full of herself, she's just like spreading all this cheerfulness, like she thinks she's all of that, I like that kills me because I'm
Yeah.
like I'm not always cheerful all the time. Like I struggle just as much as everybody else does, but this is the life that I'm aspiring to live. So I don't know, is that good enough?
So you're gonna people please me and ask me for the I love this. This is so perfect. We could do a whole coaching session right now. You're like, is that good enough? Apryl, what's your
So,
relationship with authority on a podcast? No, I'm kidding. But
no,
you
yeah.
actually answered the second part of this question that I never tell the guests ahead of time is how do you compensate? And you compensate
Mm,
by people pleasing and like I heard people pleasing in there and also just like being really clear about your intentions, which is
yeah.
totally makes sense.
Yeah. And a lot of times I'm like super humble. So like sometimes I don't even go to networking events or I don't go into places and I talk like I don't go straight out and be like I'm an author. When people think that's like super flashy, like I won't even talk about it because it's like I want you to get to know me. I don't want you to be defining me by my labels. And so I will minimize what I who I am because I don't want people to feel less than. Because I've been told before that I'm intimidating, and I'm like, how am I intimidating? I'm 5 feet tall, and like I'm super bubbly. Like, why is that intimidating? But it is for some people, and I have to like grapple with that idea sometimes, and it makes me sad because I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to feel like they matter, and so.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mm,
So gonna wrap up for today. Just got a
yeah.
couple of the things for you, Apryl. So where can the audience find you? So you are an author, so you have a book out there, you've got obviously these communities you're building, you've got
Hmm.
improv groups you're in. How do people connect with you to find out what you're up to? Um and I'd be remiss not to mention this, and I think you can take this because you're a happy person, but I want to out you and say that you're also getting into the stand up comedy arena.
Yeah, that's so scary.
Oh, sorry, not sorry.
No.
So Apryl, so I'd actually, before we even wrap up today, I'd love for just to share 30 seconds on what you're up to with that. And that'll go into where people can possibly find you. You might see you on a stage somewhere soon.
Somewhere soon. The easiest place to find me and everything that I do, because I try to make sure I'm kind of all over the place, is to just go to my website, www.thecheerfulmind.com. You can get details on my book, on the Accountability Success Circle, all the media that I'm putting out in the world, all the shows that I do, all of that. And it's an opportunity to also get onto my newsletter, which I send out twice a month. And it's super casual. I just kind of talk about what I'm going through and how I can make that into a learning lesson. So it's not, I'm never really selling anything or whatnot, but just, making sure that I'm giving words of wisdom. So that's probably the best place to go. But I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on all the things. But if you really want to connect with me, you can join the Accountability Success Circle, because that's the fun place to be. And that is accountabilitysuccesscircle.com.
Nice. Awesome. And I will these will all be in the show notes for the audience to read, click on, and definitely connect with Apryl. And if you're in the Accountability Success Circle, I believe that is run virtually through Zoom. So you will actually meet Apryl live and get to see her purple ukulele and all 5 feet of her.
Or just like the top half of me, because I'm hiding behind my desk the rest of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome, Apryl. Well, thank you so much for being on today. I have one last request of you. Love if you'd leave us with some words of wisdom. And these words of wisdom need to fit on an Instagram post. And I'm not talking about the text underneath the picture. I'm talking about on like a motivational quote on Instagram that fills all of our feeds all the time. What would you like to leave the audience with?
This is easy because this is funny because there's like a book that's titled this, but I just have always been kind of living by this mantra. And so my 4 values are connection, authenticity, fun, and accomplishment. But the thing that I always, and I have them tattooed on my arms. I came to New York and got them tattooed on my arms so that people can know. And then I also have Cheerful AF on my back. So on my back shoulder. Yeah. So, but if I were to put something on a Post-it note, and I actually have like these little, removable tattoos, and I have it on my, I created a pop socket, but basically I just say, you do you. You do you. Because who cares about what everybody else thinks? And, this is like the thing that I need to tell myself every day, which is why I would do that. But I would put that on a Post-it note, and it's everywhere I can look, because it's just that reminder of like, it's your life. You do it on your terms. You do your thing your way. And that's all that matters.
That's so cool. I have to leave you with this. I wrap right here, but I have to tell you, my 3 greatest commitments in life are excellence, connection, and fun. So we actually share the same commitments: excellence, achievements, excellence, whatever I do, connection, whatever that means, and then fun. Yeah, that's it. Fun is my greatest thing. If it ain't fun, I ain't doing it. That's my new philosophy in life. That's
also a good question to ask somebody when you're trying to see, like, do I want to be friends with this person? Know what your values are, and then just ask them, so what are your values? What do you most value? Like, you'll know that if you're going to be friends with that person very easily when you see what they answer. So
like I want to have a lot of money in the bank. I'm like, cool. What for? Like, what's your what for? Awesome. Yeah. So, well, thank you so much, Apryl. It was
thank you so much for having me.
Have you on. Yeah.
It was super
I'm sure we'll
fun.
be connecting very soon. Good luck with everything you're up to, with the new programs you're launching this year. Good luck with the comedy and the improv, everything. And looking forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to another episode of Talking to Cool People with me, Jason Frizzell. Enjoyed today's episode? Please tell your friends, give us a shout out and a follow on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes. If something from this episode has piqued your interest and you'd like to connect about it, please email us at podcast@jasonfrizzell.com. We love hearing from our listeners.